He searched for your eyes in other gazes, your voice in other voices, your laughter in other laughs, your touch in other embraces, your understanding in other minds, your presence in other bodies, your warmth in other hearts. He attempted to find pieces of you in every new encounter, in every new beginning, in every new promise. He sought copies, echoes, memories, versions that could fill the void. He tried to replace you but only found fragments, distorted reflections, pale imitations, just absence dressed as presence, just emptiness, disguised as company. If this reminded you of someone, right, I felt that. Maybe other women are also trying to understand what no one else sees. Sometimes what goes unsaid screams louder than any words. Have you ever noticed how some people are truly irreplaceable? Not due to perfection or romantic idealization, but because the unique combination of who they are, their qualities, their imperfections, the singular way they inhabit the world, creates a presence that cannot be replicated. It's about this impossible attempt at replacement that I want to talk about today, about the moment he realized, with painful clarity, that no matter how hard he tried to find someone to take your place, he only found empty spaces where fullness once existed. Maybe he hasn't admitted this to anyone. Maybe he maintains a facade of satisfaction with his new life, with his new connections. But in those moments of absolute honesty with himself, in those quiet hours of the early morning when there are no more masks to uphold, the truth emerges with overwhelming force. He tried to replace you. He genuinely tried. In the beginning, it was almost a project, a mission with clear parameters, to find someone who could fill the void you left behind. Someone with similar qualities, but without the problems he conveniently blamed for the end. An enhanced, edited version that would offer the familiar comfort you provided, but without the challenges that forced him to grow and evolve. He believed it was simply a matter of time and persistence, just another search like so many others in his life, just another goal to be achieved with enough determination. What he didn't expect was to discover that you were not just a set of traits that could be found in someone else. You were not a list of attributes that could be replicated. You were not a role that any talented actress could convincingly play in his life. You were, and continue to be, a singular presence, an irreplaceable combination of elements that create something far greater than the sum of its parts, an energy that cannot be manufactured, duplicated, or replaced, no matter how hard he tries. If this understanding resonates with you, write in the comments, "I am irreplaceable in my essence," because other women need to remember the power of their uniqueness. What you may not know is how this journey has been for him, how each new attempt at connection only highlighted, by contrast, the depth of what he lost. At first, he sought out obvious similarities, someone with the same kind of smile, with similar interests, with an energy that on the surface reminded him of yours. She also loves that author you liked. She has a laugh that reminded me of you for a second. She's interested in the same causes that mattered to you. Small overlaps that, for a fleeting moment, created the illusion of familiarity, like finding a familiar word in a text written in a foreign language. But then came the rest of the person, the parts that weren't you, the differences that couldn't be ignored, the undeniable absence of the unique connection you both shared. And each difference, each contrast, each affirmation that it wasn't you, only deepened the sense of emptiness he carried. It's like trying to quench thirst with the memory of water, like trying to warm up with the recollection of the sun, like trying to navigate using a map of a completely different territory. It simply doesn't work. What he can't admit to anyone, maybe not even to himself, is that his attempts at replacement revealed a truth he wasn't prepared to face. What you shared was much deeper, much more meaningful, much more transformative than he allowed himself to recognize while you were still together. If this realization of the unique value you brought to someone's life touches your heart, share, "I left an irreplaceable mark," because acknowledging our genuine impact on others is an important part of honoring our own journey. There's a painful irony in this situation. While he was with you, he may not have fully appreciated the rarity of what you had. He may have seen your connection as something common, easily found, readily replaceable. There are other people out there. No one is irreplaceable. There are always more fish in the sea. Phrases that repeat like mantras to justify decisions, to minimize losses, to rationalize separations, only to discover too late that some connections are truly exceptional, that some presences are indeed irreplaceable, that some bonds are truly unique in a lifetime, not because you are perfect, Not because you didn't have real challenges, not because the relationship existed in some idealized realm above normal human complexities, but because the specific synergy between you, the peculiar chemistry, the unique resonance, the singular complementarity, has created something that cannot be reproduced, no matter how many new connections he tries to make. It's like an emotional fingerprint, unique to each relationship, impossible to falsify or duplicate. If you recognize the irreplaceable nature of genuine connections, right, some connections are truly unique, because naming this truth helps other women properly value the authentic connections in their lives. What he finds now in each new attempt at replacement is not you, not even a convincing approximation. It's just a reminder of what he lost, a contrast that highlights rather than fills the space you left behind. Each new person in his life does not diminish your absence. Paradoxically, it only makes it more palpable. Each new connection does not erase your memory. Curiously, it only makes it more vivid. Every new attempt to move on does not separate him from what you had. Ironically, it only deepens his understanding of the unique value of what he let slip away. It's as if each new relationship is written on a palimpsest, where the marks of the previous history can still be seen clearly. Like trying to paint a new image on a canvas where the original painting still shines vividly through the new layers of paint. The people around him see only the surface, the apparent normality, the social smile, the new relationships, the carefully curated posts that project an image of recovery and renewed happiness. But in moments of authentic solitude, when there is no longer an audience, when there is no more need for performance, the truth emerges with crystal clarity. He tried to replace you and only found emptiness. Not just any emptiness, not a generic absence, but an emptiness with specific contours. An absence shaped precisely like your presence. A negative space that, like in the best visual art, accurately defines the outline of what is no longer there. If this understanding of the specific nature of absence resonates with you, share, I left a unique mark, because recognizing the uniqueness of our presence in the lives of others is part of honoring who we truly are. What he may never admit out loud is that, in his new relationships, he is constantly searching for you, not in a conscious or deliberate way, but in small moments of unconscious expectation. He waits to hear that specific intonation that only your voice had when you said certain words. He anticipates that intuitive understanding that only you offered in moments of vulnerability. He longs for that peculiar feeling of being fully seen and accepted that he only experienced in your presence. And when those moments don't come, because they cannot come, because they are exclusive to the connection you shared, the disappointment is palpable. Not directed at the new person, who isn't at fault for not being you, but at the situation itself. At the inescapable reality that some presences leave voids that nothing else can fully fill. It's like a musical instrument, tuned to resonate perfectly with another specific one. When the pair is separated, no other instrument, no matter how finely crafted, will be able to create exactly the same harmony. If you recognize this unique nature of resonance between two people, right, we created an unrepeatable harmony, because understanding the peculiarity of each genuine connection helps us appreciate them properly while we have them. The most ironic thing about this journey of attempts at replacement is that eventually he might find someone truly special. Someone who isn't you, nor a pale copy, but a unique individual with their own extraordinary qualities, capable of creating a completely different yet equally meaningful connection. Yet even this new authentic connection, if it happens, won't erase the space you occupied. It won't replace the mark you left. It won't fill the specific void that your absence created. Because each genuine connection occupies its own emotional territory. It creates its own universe of shared meanings, mutual references, and unspoken understandings. It establishes its own particular language, its own codes, its own truths. A new connection does not replace a previous one, just as a new friend doesn't take the place of an old one, a new child doesn't replace an older sibling, and a new transformative experience doesn't erase the impact of another experienced earlier. Each meaningful relationship writes its own story in a distinct chapter of our lives. There may be continuity, recurring themes, and lessons that span multiple relationships, but each genuine connection retains its uniqueness intact. If this understanding of the unique nature of each significant relationship touches your heart, share this. Each true connection is irreplaceable in its own way, because acknowledging this truth helps us honor both what we had and what we can still discover. What you might not realize is that in his attempt to replace her, he wasn't just looking for another person. He was trying to reclaim a specific version of himself that only existed in her presence. Because genuine connections not only reveal the other in their most authentic essence, they also unveil aspects of ourselves that only emerge in the specific presence of that particular person. Perhaps with you, he felt braver, more vulnerable, more authentic, more able to laugh at himself, more connected to aspects of his personality that remained dormant in other contexts. And now, aside from your absence, he is also facing the absence of that version of himself that you helped to bring forth. This facet of his identity that thrived specifically in the unique greenhouse of your connection. It's a double loss, a double absence, a double void. Not only have you gone, the person he was with you is also gone. The specific self that only existed in the unique presence of your singular essence. If this realization about how we influence each other resonates with your experience, write, "I brought out the best in him." Because recognizing our ability to elicit unique versions of others is part of understanding the profound impact we have on the lives we touch. The hardest part for him to accept is that the void will not be filled, not because he cannot find someone wonderful, not because he is destined for perpetual loneliness, not because you are objectively superior to anyone else who might enter his life, but because of the specific nature of the space you occupied. The unique configuration of meanings, memories, feelings, and transformations that your presence catalyzed is uniquely yours. It cannot be filled by another person, just as a specific musical note cannot be replaced by another without fundamentally changing the melody. The most he can do is learn to live with this empty space, not by trying to fill it or deny it, but by acknowledging it as an important part of his emotional landscape, like a monument to what was lived, like a testament to a connection that, even though it has ended, left an indelible mark. And perhaps eventually you can reach a place of gratitude, not for having lost you, obviously, but for having experienced such a genuine connection that it left an impossible void to be filled by substitutes, for having encountered a presence so significant that its absence is still felt even amidst new relationships. Because at the end of the day, the ability to deeply feel someone's absence is directly proportional to the depth of their presence. The size of the void is an exact measure of the fullness that once existed. If this understanding of the relationship between absence and meaning touches your heart, share. The depth of the void reveals the depth of what was lived. Because finding meaning even in absence is part of fully integrating our most significant experiences. Maybe you've also tried to replace him. Perhaps you've sought in new faces, new voices, new hearts, something that reminded you of what you shared, and maybe you've discovered the same fundamental truth. Some connections cannot be replicated. Some presences leave specific voids that nothing else fully fills. Some experiences transform us so profoundly that they leave permanent marks on our emotional landscape. It's not about idealizing what was lost. It's not about denying the real issues that existed. It's not about romanticizing a relationship that, for valid reasons, came to an end. It's about recognizing that the uniqueness of each genuine connection means that when it ends, it leaves a space that remains uniquely yours, not out of possession, but out of irreplaceable specificity. Perhaps you both have taken completely different paths. Maybe you've built new lives, formed new connections, discovered new joys that didn't exist when you were together. But in some corner of the emotional geography of each individual, there exists a space marked by the presence of the other. A region that, like those ancestral borders that persist on modern maps, continues to delineate a unique territory of shared experience that cannot be redrawn, no matter how many new lines are drawn. If this perception of the emotional geography we share with significant others resonates with your experience, write, "I carry unique emotional maps from each meaningful connection," because recognizing the specific topography of our deepest experiences is part of honoring our own history. He tried to replace you and found out that it's not possible. Not because you are irreplaceable in an idealized romantic sense, but because each genuine connection creates its own unique universe of meanings, transformations, and possibilities that cannot be reproduced. What he can do, what we all can do, is honor those empty spaces without trying to fill them with inadequate substitutes, to acknowledge their value as witnesses to the depth with which we have been touched, transformed, and challenged to grow. And then, it's not about replacing but recreating, not replicating but discovering, not filling the old void, but opening up to new territories of connection, with the wisdom and depth that only those who have experienced both fullness and absence can bring to new encounters. For perhaps this is the true lesson of the voids that cannot be filled. They teach us not only about what we have lost, but about our capacity to feel deeply, to connect authentically, to be permanently transformed by the genuine encounter with another human being. And this, in itself, is an invaluable gift, even when it comes wrapped in the pain of absence.